All right, the NFL just did a big favor for the Las Vegas Raiders, and we're going to get into some of these things, and we're going to talk about it. And I understand that as this video comes out, the schedule will already be released. But what I'm here to talk about is why this schedule is so favorable for the Raiders before we even look at what week they play who. Because so often the schedule is important based on who you play, not even necessarily when you play them, but it's also just kind of the favor and the luck of the draw on what type of talent are you going up against. And we're going to talk about who that is in the Raiders schedule and why the way the NFL schedules this, it is coming on a really, really good year for the Raiders. If I can be completely honest, I think this is similar to the kind of schedule that a team that you don't like at all, the Chargers, all right, this is a similar schedule to what they had last year. They did not finish well, so they had 3 very easy opponents, and I'm going to explain that on the schedule. But before I get into that, let me ask you this question, and let me tell you this. If you're new to this channel, we are Lions fans. We don't hide that. We feel this connection. You know, you had the Bad Boys and the Raiders that had their connection in the late 80s and 90s, and then we love talking about teams that the national media kind of ignores, so we want to give an honest assessment of your team. This team has had an overhaul that has been done very professionally this year. And I think that they can be a contender to go from that worst to first. I don't know if first is there in the division, right? But they definitely can compete in the division and absolutely have a chance to be looking at the playoffs. The division is loaded. You have 3 teams that all should likely be playoff teams, or not likely playoff teams, or 4 teams that all have a chance to make the playoffs. I think you can say the Chiefs is a lock, but the rest of them, not necessarily. And so, but they're all good. It's a very good division. But here's how the NFL schedule is made. Every year you play your division opponents 2 times, once at home and once on the road. And then after that encompasses 6 of your games. And then you play one whole division from both the AFC and the NFC. The divisions that you play this year are the AFC South. We're going to get into why that is a bonus. And the NFC East. Not as much of a bonus outside of the Giants. All right? But it's a pretty level, all right, there's some good teams, and then there's more bad teams than good teams. There's a lot of beatable teams in those. And then that leaves 3 remaining. So you have the 6 games against your division. You have the 8 games that you play against the other 2 divisions. And then you have 3 games where you play against the whatever team finished the same in the standings of their division as yours. For this, you will play, I'm trying to think of what the 4th place teams from the NFC North, that's the Bears. The AFC East, I believe that was the Jets or the Patriots. I think it's the Patriots. And then the AFC North. So when you put it all together, this is what your schedule looks like. All right. At home, you get the Bears. That's one of your. That's your 4th place team. You get the Browns. There you go. Right. There's your 4th place team. You get the Cowboys, the Broncos, the Jags, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Chargers, the Giants, and the Titans. On the road, you go to Denver, Houston, Indy, KC, LA, New England, Philly, Washington. So when you break this down, you look at this and your 3 AFC South teams, or your 4 AFC South teams, you're going to have the Jags, you're going to have the Titans, you're going to have the Texans, and you're going to have, I missed a team in here somewhere, and the Jags, Titans, Texans, Colts. All right? Those are those teams. Are any of those games not winnable? I understand the Texans are a very good football team. I understand that. But that is the division that I told you we're Lions fans. We played that division last year. We swept the division. That was extremely helpful for us. This year we have the NFC East and the AFC North. That's very difficult. That's Steelers. That's Ravens. That's Bengals, right? And Browns, right? And so, but that is a much more difficult. What would you rather play, the AFC North or the AFC South? That's helpful. You look at your NFC East opponents, all right? You have the Commanders. You have the Eagles right here. Then you're going to also have the Giants and the Cowboys are somewhere in here, right here. So in that, you have two very good teams, one what in the world team, and you get them at home, and then the Giants at home should be a gimme. So that's your NFC East. Then you have the teams that aren't in your division that are the fourth place teams. You have the Chicago Bears at home. You have the Cleveland Browns at home. And you have the New England Patriots at home. I'm telling you, based on offseason, you can be excited about the Bears, maybe. But the Browns and the Patriots aren't at your level yet. They're not there. So while other teams in your division, like the Kansas City Chiefs, they have to play the Lions, right? That was the first place team. They have to play the Ravens, and they have to play the Bills. Like, that is a huge difference when it comes into wins and losses on your schedule. That's very difficult and an advantage that you have only because you got fourth place last year. This doesn't always turn into an advantage, all right? But this is also why you see at least one team every year in the NFL goes from worst to first. They go from fourth place in their division to winning their division. Or they go from at least fourth place in their division to making the playoffs because of this 3 games. And especially when you see a schedule like this. Yes, it's a murderer's row in the AFC West. I understand that. But you guys have fared well against the Chargers in the past 5 years. Nobody is saying that the Broncos are a runaway great team. They had a fun season last year. They played well last year, but they weren't like a gimme. Like I mean, like they're not a given great team. They were a team that overachieved. Are they going to do that again this year? They still have a salary cap problem on their hands that they can't solve for probably another year. All right, and then the Chiefs. We understand what the Chiefs are. You've played them very hard. Now you have a competent quarterback. So I'd be very interested to see what this looks like. I'd also be very interested to see in your schedule, like, are you playing, what does it look like in cold weather? Like, are you playing the Chiefs and the Broncos on the road early? That could be really helpful for you. And if you're playing those teams on the road early, or the Browns or the Bears or the Patriots, the Eagles, the Commanders, these are the Giants, that's the only way this schedule can get tricky is if you have to play all those teams in November, December when the weather's getting cold. So because you are a fair weather team. All right. And I'm not saying that your team plays like a fair weather team. In fact, in a lot of ways, your team is built to be successful in the elements. So I'd be very interested to see what that looks like. But I think the NFL did a big favor for you. I think there's one more thing that I do want to talk about, and it's miles traveled. Las Vegas is not necessarily close to things, right? And when you look at other teams that are around you in your division and things like that, Kansas City, Denver, right? The Chargers travel more than anybody else in the NFL this year. They travel over twice as many miles as you. Over the course of the season, that takes its toll. And even though you're in Vegas, so you have a ways to travel to all these places, you're still right in the middle of the NFL when it comes to miles you have to travel. So a couple good things on the schedule, even before it's released, even though when you watch this video, it will be released. I have small group at my church, so I have to record beforehand. I can't record it live. Otherwise, I'd be doing that. But stay tuned. I'm sure we'll talk about the schedule down the road. All right. Hey, thanks so much for watching. See you on the next one.